Welcome to the Private School Leader Podcast, where private school leaders learn how to thrive and not just survive as they serve and lead their schools. I strongly believe that it is possible to have a long and happy and fulfilling career as a private school leader. And my passion is to help you figure out exactly how to do just that right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And I'm your host, Mark Minkus. So on March 11th, 2010, I was lying on the bathroom floor at my house, and I had been lying there for about an hour, and I couldn't get up. And so I said to my wife, I need you to take me to the emergency room. And I was severely dehydrated. I couldn't keep anything down for about 2 days. And I was too dizzy to stand up, and so I asked her to take me to the hospital. And so in the emergency room, after a lot of tests, I was told that I had 4 ulcers in the lining of my stomach and in my esophagus. And the ER doctor came in and asked me a question. And he said, "Do you have a stressful job?" My job as a private school leader had finally put me in the hospital. And you may have heard me say that I've experienced having one of my daughters say to me, "Dad, when do we get to see you instead of the back of your laptop?" And my wife has said to me, "I feel like you're married to the school and not married to me." And I felt guilty and lonely, and I felt like an imposter, and I felt intense stress and anxiety and just total exhaustion and feeling overwhelmed. And I know what it's like. I know what it feels like to be in survival mode. And I thought I knew how to make it better, just outwork the problem. You know how we just try to outwork every problem? Just come in earlier, stay later, work weeknights, work weekends. I'll get caught up. I just have to work harder. Just put my head down and work harder. But that didn't work. It just made things worse. And then my self-talk was, what's wrong with me? I must be just too weak to do this job. And leading up to that trip to the ER, I had been in survival mode for quite a while. And I don't want you to get into survival mode, and I certainly don't want you to stay stuck in survival mode any longer. I know you don't want to be there. The good news is you don't have to stay there, because what you need is a plan. And that's why I created the survival mode escape plan. And on today's episode of the Private School Leader Podcast, I'm going to give you a plan. And so just before we get into that, real quick, I just want to give you a free resource. I try to do that every episode. This one's called The 6 Things That Every Private School Teacher Wants from Their Leader. And this is a 6-page PDF free for you. I think it can be a game changer for you at your school. And I guarantee that if you do these 6 things, the teacher at your school will be happy to follow you. And you can grab that at theprivateschoolleader.com/guide. Again, that's a free PDF for you over at theprivateschoolleader.com/guide. And it's called The 6 Things Every Teacher Wants from Their Leader. So I want to start off by telling you something that you already know, and that is that you have an incredibly complex and difficult job. And I think sometimes we just kind of know that we have a difficult job, but I just want to shine a light on that for a second, that you've got the parents, so let's say that you've got some prickly parents, you've got some students to take care of, you've got the teachers, board members, fundraising, payroll, enrollment, dress code, discipline, curriculum, strategic plan, facilities, transportation, retention, recruitment, tuition, board meetings, accreditation, keeping everyone on campus safe. I could probably list about 100 things that you do. And all of these people need you. I mentioned the parents and the students and the teachers and the board members. All of these people need you. and they seem to need you all the time. And all of the issues that I mentioned, like enrollment or finance or facilities, all of those issues just seem to intersect at your desk. And the tyranny of the urgent controls your day. You're constantly interrupted by everyone that needs you, and you're left feeling exhausted and frustrated. And then, if you're anything like me, then I just go home exhausted, and then I feel guilty because my family gets what's left of me at the end of the day. And I want you to know something really, really important. I almost didn't record this episode because I thought that, okay, they're going to think that I'm just using scare tactics. And I just thought, there's been 175 episodes. And I'm not saying you've listened to all of them, but you've listened to some of them. And if you don't trust me yet, I'm not sure what to tell you. But I decided that if you trust me, you will figure this is something that I really feel like you need to hear. And I'm not just trying to scare you to do something. And the thing that really sealed the deal for me that I had to record this episode today was that I got a text from one of my coaching clients yesterday. And this is what it said. It says, this week got the best of me. I'm home today, with a emoji of a broken heart. This week got the best of me. I'm home today, and a broken heart emoji. What we do, what private school leaders do, is very complex, very difficult. There's not a lot of pats on the back. It's exhausting, it's emotional, and it's very hard to do. And so what I want to do on today's episode is I'm going to break this into 3 parts. Part 1 is I want you to get clear on what will happen if you stay in survival mode. And you're thinking, well, maybe I'm not in survival mode. Okay, I would encourage you to keep listening, because are you 2 bad days away from survival mode if you're not in it? So part 1 is get clear on what will happen if you stay in survival mode. That's the big scary bad news that I almost didn't record it because I don't want you to think I'm just using scare tactics. But we're going to get clear on what will happen if you stay in survival mode. Part 2 is I want you to suspend your disbelief and envision your life 6 weeks from today. What could be true about you and your life at school and your life at home 6 weeks from today? And then part 3 is I'm going to give you the 3 steps to your survival mode escape plan. So part 1, let's get clear on what will happen if you stay in survival mode. So burnout is defined as the end state of chronic stress. Burnout is the end state of chronic stress. And I have some symptoms listed here. You know, sometimes when I work with coaching clients, I have a sheet that I give them that has like 15 symptoms on it. And I just ask them to kind of check off how many they've experienced in the last 6 months. And so physical exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, feeling disinterested at work, feeling disengaged at home, easily frustrated, quick-tempered, decrease in feelings of personal accomplishment, like you work really hard, but what have you really accomplished? Difficulty concentrating, cynicism. It gets harder to find the good in a situation. And so those are just some of the symptoms of burnout. And so if you stay in survival mode, you're going to end up with burnout. But that's just the bad news. I actually have worse news. Because burnout is actually just the beginning. Because over the last 3 years, I've coached just over 100 private school leaders. And about 50% of them have let burnout turn into one or more of these following things: ulcers, a very strained marriage, anxiety and depression, extreme guilt about not being present at home, high blood pressure, shingles, alcohol abuse, stroke-like symptoms, vertigo, and strongly considering quitting your job mid-year. So that's 100 people that I've worked with, private school leaders just like you, and half of them have one or more of those problems that I named. Usually it's early in the process when we start working together. Sometimes I can't remember the number of times that people have reached out to me for coaching, and the first thing that they say is, well, I was at the doctor's office yesterday, or I was at the hospital yesterday. And then they reach out. The body will always pull the emergency brake, so I want to get you out of survival mode now so that you don't experience burnout, or if you are experiencing burnout, so that you don't let things get worse. The body will always pull the emergency brake. And I don't want to sound dramatic. I don't want to sound like a scare tactic, but I just know from my own experience and from the experience of my coaching clients that what you're experiencing now could get much worse. If you're in survival mode, if you're experiencing burnout as a private school leader. And like I said, if you're listening and maybe you're not in survival mode right now, are you a few bad days away from survival mode? Just put this in your back pocket, and I hope you never need it. But I know I'm talking to a lot of people right now who are experiencing this. And I just hate to tell you this, but for most private school leaders, if not all, if you keep doing the same things the same way, it's only a matter of time until things get worse. And I told you before what I thought was my solution, and you've probably tried this before. It's like, well, I'm so far behind, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so buried in the tyranny of the urgent and under these tasks. And oh no, May is on the horizon, the 100 days of May, and so on and so forth. Hiring season, enrollment, student discipline, parents. So all of that is the bad news. You can't outwork the problem. But I want to give you some good news. And so part 2 is to envision your life 6 weeks from today. And I'm going to need you to suspend your disbelief. Because what I'm about to ask you to visualize makes no logical sense when you're feeling frustrated and discouraged. You know, maybe you're feeling frustrated and discouraged. You're not feeling overwhelmed yet. But when you're in it, you know, when you're in the raging rapids of your job, bouncing down the river, hanging on for dear life, and you run that back day after day after day, it's hard for you to envision anything other than what's 6 inches in front of your face and what's latest and what's loudest. But I need you to visualize this and suspend your disbelief. So I want you to picture that 6 weeks from today, these things, or most of these things, are true about you. These are you saying these things, and they're true about you 6 weeks from today. First, my days are rarely controlled by the tyranny of the urgent, and I actually work on my most important tasks almost every day. Okay, hang with me. 6 weeks from today, most days I leave at a decent time with some energy left for my family and for myself. 6 weeks from today, I'm no longer checking my work email all day long at school or all evening and weekends at home. Hang in there. Remember, suspend your disbelief. 6 weeks from today, I've created sustainable boundaries between school and home, and it's actually rare to have a school issue or a parent living rent-free in my head. 6 weeks from today, I no longer feel guilty that my family gets what's left of me because I am spending quality time with them and I'm truly present. Remember, you're visualizing your life 6 weeks from today. 6 weeks from today, I have reconnected with the deep meaning and true passion behind why I got into education in the first place. And these last two might be the toughest to envision. But 6 weeks from today, I've started to do something for myself, like exercise or reviving a hobby, something that I haven't done in a really long time. And 6 weeks from today, I feel happy and I have a fulfilling career as a private school leader, and I want to be a private school leader for a long time. You know how I always say, I believe it's possible for you to have a long and happy and fulfilling career as a private school leader. What if you started feeling like that 6 weeks from today? Most of these things can be true about you 6 weeks from today, but you need a plan. And I told you before about my clients with burnout and ulcers and strained marriages and shingles, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression. I told you my story about going to the emergency room and the ER doctor asking, do you have a stressful job? And I felt overwhelmed at school and felt guilty at home. Well, that's why I created the survival mode escape plan. And part 3 is I'm going to give you the 3 steps to your survival mode escape plan. So what I've created, I've built something new for you. And it has 3 easy steps, 3 steps to get you out of survival mode in 6 weeks, 3 steps to get you the life that I asked you to envision in 6 weeks from today. So if you want to get out of survival mode, step 1 is to do it with someone else. So you know that it's easier to do something hard when you do it with someone else. There's all kinds of research to support that. So if you want to start to exercise and go to the gym, if a friend of yours is meeting you there, or if you want to go for a walk, a brisk walk 3 times a week, if you're walking with a friend, if you're if you're pregnant and this is the first time your first baby, and a friend of yours is pregnant at the same time with their first baby, if you're trying to eat healthy and only one person in the marriage or partnership is eating healthy and the other one is not, that makes it really, really difficult. So if you want to get out of survival mode, doing it with someone else is going to be a tremendous help. So how are you going to do that with someone else? Well, the survival mode escape plan has 6 weeks of live group coaching on Zoom with other leaders who get it, who get you, who are trying to get out of survival mode, and they're dealing with the same struggles and the same frustrations. And so just imagine showing up. You know, there's 2 live coaching sessions a week on Zoom. Maybe you can only show up to 1. But imagine just being in a space with other private school leaders, feeling the same sense of overwhelm, feeling the same guilt, dealing with the same struggles. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's easier to know there's nothing wrong with you when you're in a space with other people who are struggling with the same things as you. Some of them a little further down the path who can encourage you and say it gets better. Some who can say, I see you, and I'm sorry you're going through that. To get out of survival mode, you need to do it with someone else with the help of other private school leaders just like you. So the survival mode escape plan has 6 weeks of live group coaching. Step number 2, you've got to learn sustainable strategies to get you out of survival mode. And I wrote in my notes to get you out of that hole. So I want you to imagine that when you're in survival mode, you're kind of down in this hole and you're still digging. Well, you need someone to put a ladder down there. Okay? sometimes you've seen people throw a rope down there. I think a ladder is way easier to climb than a rope. The ladder that I'm going to put into the hole for you is to teach you sustainable strategies to get out of that hole and to just climb that ladder and get out of the hole. And almost 200 private school leaders over the past 3 years have used Thrive Academy to get out of survival mode. And we're not even going to focus on the whole course. We're going to focus on the first 4 modules of Thrive Academy. And so do a couple lessons, watch a couple videos, show up hopefully once a week to it's twice a week if you can, but let's say you show up once a week, and it's all about application for you specifically at your school and your situation. Because in the first 4 modules, see, Thrive Academy is the curriculum that's going to teach you the sustainable strategies, the curriculum inside of the survival mode escape plan. In the first 4 modules, you're going to learn in module 1 how to revive your passion and reconnect with the deep meaning behind why you got into education in the first place. I know I'm talking to some people right now and you feel like your spark is going out. You've kind of lost your spark. You've lost your mojo. You've lost your muchness, as Hatter said to Alice in Wonderland. We're going to revive that passion and reconnect with that deep meaning, because when we do hard things, we have to have a strong, compelling reason why we're doing it. We need to revive that and reconnect with it. And then in module 2, I'm going to teach you to tame the tyranny of the urgent. Stop letting your day happen to you, and how to be the architect of your day. How to stop letting other people define your tasks and define your urgency, and have you define urgency, and probably most importantly, teach you how to tame your email inbox. And then in module 3, create sustainable boundaries between school and home, because most private school leaders, their boundaries are written in pencil, and pencil's hard to see and it's easy to erase. And that's why we really kind of don't have boundaries between school and home. But I'm going to teach you how to write your boundaries in Sharpie so that they're clear and they're not negotiable. And then in module 4, increase your energy level. Remember when you had energy? Remember when you had a pep in your step? I can help you get that back. So step 1 is group coaching with other school leaders who are going through the same thing at the same time as you. Step 2 is to learn the right systems and strategies. And then step 3 is to get encouragement and motivation from a community. So we're talking about a transformation. We're not talking about information, because there's all kinds of free information out there. This podcast, free information, blog posts, YouTube videos, books you can read. If you could get out of survival mode and stay out of it, if you could avoid burnout and the other things that happen when the body pulls the emergency brake, if you could stay out of survival mode by consuming free content, you would already have gotten that result. You don't need more information. What you need is a transformation. And the community is what helps make that stick. So between the live coaching calls, between you checking out a module, between the crises at school, between the good days and the bad days at school, you'll have 24/7 access to a private Slack community of the other leaders who are in the survival mode escape plan. These leaders who get it and who get you, and who want to show their empathy, who want to encourage you. And if you can give some encouragement, great. If you need some encouragement, great. But you'll have access to that Slack community, because inside the community you can ask questions in real time. You can share your wins and get those pats on the back from the other people in the community. You can share your challenges and your struggles. You could even get perspective before you send that tricky email. It doesn't have to be just about you getting out of survival mode. You can also have the wisdom of the group help you with a situation at school. Help you avoid being isolated as a leader. It's so lonely being a private school leader. So step 1 is to do it with someone else, the live coaching, the live group coaching. Step 2 is to use sustainable strategies to get out of the hole. And that ladder that I'm going to put down in the hole is the first 4 modules of Thrive Academy. Going to teach you the how to do it, how to get out of that hole. And then step 3 is get encouragement and motivation from the private Slack community. So if this sounds like something that you need, go to theprivateschoolleader.com/escape plan. That's theprivateschoolleader.com/escape plan for more information. I told you that I almost didn't record this episode. And that's because I don't want to use scare tactics. I don't want to try to bully you into, changing. But I'm telling you, after 175 episodes, I hope you trust me. You've heard my story. Most of you have heard it before today. But I just really have it on my heart. There are a lot of private school leaders that are suffering right now. They're trying to outwork every problem. They're trying to show up at home when they're exhausted and interact with their families. What you do is incredibly hard. You sacrifice your identity on the altar of that school every day. I have it on my heart. I've had it on my heart for a while to talk to you about this. But I decided I needed to build something that was going to make a difference. I don't usually do episodes like this. If you've been listening for a while, you know that. But this is a really big deal. This is affecting your physical health, your mental health, and your relationships, including your marriage if you're married. And so I couldn't just hang around and try to give encouraging and, give a little pep talk or give some strategies. I had to build something that was actually going to be a structured step-by-step plan where you could get out of survival mode in 6 weeks. And that's what I've done. And so if that's something you're interested in, great. Check out theprivateschoolleader.com/escape plan. If it's not, but a few months from now or whenever, I hope you never need it, but you could come back to this episode, or you could just go to the webpage, theprivateschoolleader.com/escape plan. I don't usually try and persuade you to buy stuff. That's very rare on this show. I will mention Parent Academy, I'll mention whatever, but hopefully 90% of it is me trying to help you. But I'm to the point now where with coaching clients and with emails that I receive and with feedback that I get from podcast listeners, there's so many that are struggling with the same things. And so I decided I needed to do something to try to help you. So part 1, the big takeaways from today's episode. Part 1 is I tried to help you get clear on what happens if you stay in survival mode with the burnout and then the body pulling the emergency brake. I asked you to envision your life 6 weeks from today. And then in part 3, I gave you the 3 steps to your survival mode escape plan. Step 1 is do it with someone else, and that's 6 weeks of group coaching. Step 2 is to use sustainable strategies to get out of that hole. And the ladder to get out of the hole is the first 4 modules of Thrive Academy. That's the curriculum inside of the survival mode escape plan. And then step 3 is to get encouragement and motivation from a community with 24/7 access to a private Slack community. You don't need more information. You need a transformation. And so your call to action is to go to theprivateschoolleader.com/escape plan for 10 minutes and to check it out. So I just really appreciate you, your hard work, those lucky kids, those lucky teachers. Thank you for taking some precious time to join me here today. And I'll see you next time right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And until then, always remember to serve first, lead second, and make a difference.